the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
This is Lesley Lindsey Davis, and this is the Business Story of the Week.
That is Lesley Lindsey Davis, our guest for today. And of course, I am your host, Joshua. And today's question is, why do we often turn to food for comfort instead of addressing our emotions directly? Well, we're going to answer that question and more, and much more deeper implications of our emotions and what we do and how we cultivate all of that and build healthy relationships in business and in personal life as well. And Lesley is the perfect guest to answer that question for today. Lesley Lindsey Davis is an inspirational speaker, best-selling author of You Can't Eat Love. I love that book. I love that title. She empowers business leaders and teams to embrace emotions, cultivate self love, and build healthy relationships. With warmth, authenticity, and humor, Lesley connects with individuals to help them accept feelings, focus on behavior, and make lasting positive changes. Having sold over 15,000 books and appeared in over 100 podcasts, her expertise has transformed audiences in conferences, online summits, women's shelters, and international congregations. But today she is going to be joining us on this episode, on this show, to share her warmth and authenticity. Lesley, thank you for coming on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Joshua, and I'm so excited to talk to you. First of all, it is such a privilege to even be invited onto the show, and I am just so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, Lesley. Well, I mean, first off, the message behind your book is very intriguing. It really caught my attention. I feel like our audience and listeners would feel the same as well. I feel like it spills over in a lot of parts of our lives, not just our personal life, our business, our career, everything, everywhere else. But Lesley, before we really get into it, I want to ask, what was the young Lesley like? What did the young Lesley think about, being an author? Did the young Lesley know she always wanted to write about love and healthy relationships?
Well, actually, the young Lesley didn't really believe that she could live her dreams.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
She spent so much of her time trying to make certain that everybody else was living their dreams.
Oh my! Mhm.
And that everything that she was doing was trying to make sure that everybody's life was easier.
Wow!
And it wasn't until around 2014, 2015, when she came to an awareness that everybody else was living their best life, but she was not.
Oh.
And in that moment, she drove a literal stake in the ground, and it's still in the garden out in the
Oh
backyard,
wow! Oh
and
wow!
said, from this moment forward, this is
Mhm.
Lesley 2.0.
Lesley
Windows
2.0.
and Microsoft and everybody can have, versions of 2.0. Coke can have 2.0.
Mhm.
I decided, why couldn't I be, Lesley 2.0? So I started tiny, tiny steps, living Lesley 2.0. And in 2016, 2015, an emotional tsunami overcame me. And that was when I really got serious about becoming Lesley 2.0 and
Wow!
making certain that I did not leave anything undone. I don't want to
Wow!
be 80 years old sitting on my front porch in my rocking chair saying, I wish I would have. And
Wow!
now I'm on a mission to help other people do the same.
Wow! Wow. Wow, Lesley, first of all, what a remarkable story. And what a relatable story as well. because we often tend to put others before we put ourselves, and we find validation in that. We found value if others find us valuable. That's the only way we find ourselves valuable. But we actually lose more of ourselves in the process of doing that. Leslie, I'm very curious about this stake. I'm very curious about that pivotal moment. What was that particular pivotal moment that allowed you to just drive in that stake in the back of your garden and say, this is going to be the new version. I'm going to start putting myself first, because I feel that pivotal moment is something that a lot of our audience and listeners are looking for as well. What was it for you?
Well, for me, um, I my youngest son was graduating from high school,
Hmm.
and my two older kids were essentially living their best lives.
Hmm.
I was observing that my husband had changed jobs. He was a little bit happier. And I recognized I was working well over 60 hours a week, and it didn't make any difference what I was doing at work. I
Hmm.
felt as if I wasn't doing enough. And
Hmm.
the owner of the agency where I worked, even though I would be in at 5:30 in the morning and oftentimes working until 9 o'clock at night and working on weekends, he would
Right.
complain if I
Yeah.
was 5 minutes late from lunch.
Oh no. Oh, come on.
And one day when I was driving to work, um, seriously, all I wanted to do, was not be there. I wanted to be
Hmm.
somewhere else. And
Hmm.
in that moment, I realized I was sacrificing myself on the altar of
Hmm.
somebody else's profits and success.
Wow. Wow.
And I said, I don't want to do this. I can be successful in my own right. I'm
Hmm.
sacrificing myself for the sake of, something that wasn't giving back to me. And I know that your focus is a lot on business and people who are in businesses.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that you asked this question, because I want your listeners, your audience, the people right now who are hearing this,
Hmm.
if you understand that you are giving everything to the business and
Hmm.
it's not your own business, I want you to take a step back.
Hmm.
Take a step back and say, what is it that I am getting? How am
Hmm.
I being fulfilled? Are my goals being achieved?
Right.
Are my
Right.
needs being met? Am I being heard?
Hmm.
And if you cannot answer yes to all of those questions, I'm going to
Hmm.
challenge you to find a place where you can answer yes to all of those questions. And what I
Hmm.
did as a consequence of driving that stake in the ground
Hmm.
is I gave my 2 week notice, and suddenly they were all over like, oh my goodness, what can we do to keep you?
Hmm.
Including offering me a whole lot more money.
Okay. Hmm.
And the morning, the Monday morning after the weekend, I said, I can't go back. And so
Yeah.
I went, I put my keys through the door and
Hmm.
walked away.
Hmm.
Was it hard? Yes. Change
Hmm.
is always hard. Change is always
Always.
scary.
Hmm.
But remember, if you are not the owner of the business, if you are
Hmm.
not the one who is benefiting from all the profits and the hard work,
Hmm.
you are simply a cog in the wheel, and you
Yes.
can be replaced.
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
But your life, your livelihood, your mental health is way more important than sacrificing yourself on the
Yes.
altar of everyone else's
Hmm.
profits and success.
Hmm. Leslie, I love that you talked about that. Again, I think prior to the recording, we talked about topics that aren't really talked about as much, and that is why I'm very interested in having you. I was very interested in having you on the show, because I feel like addressing those parts where we put ourselves first, regardless if it's career, your own business, the job, being an entrepreneur, heck, being a mother, being a family man, right? It's so normal to put others first and lose ourselves in the process. But I'm very proud, of course, that you found that defining moment where you said, nope, enough is enough. I can't. Like, I need to find ways that enrich myself? Is it serving me? Is it serving others? I think the questions that you asked earlier was like, um, am I putting myself first? Lesley, this is a really, really difficult journey. It's a really difficult journey of self-love, so to speak. And you've had a long journey doing this as well, especially since putting down that stake. And you've helped others break free from that cycle. Lesley, talk to us a little bit about this journey and how do we process this kind of self-love? How do we start building this in us so we can be better business owners, so we can be better career people, business women, businessmen, or even just a family member, right? Your journey from leaving your career to whatever challenge our audience and listeners might face, from family problems to emotional eating, perhaps it all requires a great degree of self-love. Lesley, how did you journey through this and how did you approach helping others break free from similar cycles?
Well, the thing that I realized, and it took me a little bit to realize this, but the thing that I realized was I felt as if nobody was listening to me.
Mm, mhm,
And how
mhm,
often are we the person that someone is coming to?
mhm.
Especially if you are the owner of a business or you are a parent, the head of the household.
Yes,
You have everybody coming to you and they're dumping all of their problems on you.
yes,
However, they never take a breath and genuinely listen to your problems.
yes.
So, what I discovered on accident, I stumbled on this because I started writing in a notebook. I don't call it journaling just because I have
Hmm.
this negative connotation when it comes to
Oh,
journaling. So, I
okay.
started writing in a notebook
Hmm.
and having written conversations with myself.
Right.
And I would ask myself questions, I would tell myself things. And as I was working through those difficult feelings, those difficult thoughts, I would acknowledge, well, of course you feel that way. Why wouldn't
Right.
you be feeling that way?
Right. Right. Right.
And as I started doing that, I started realizing that I was no longer desperate for somebody else to listen to me.
Oh.
And the amazing thing was that when somebody came to me and they were sharing whatever it was they were sharing, be it good, bad, indifferent, whatever,
Hmm. Hmm.
I was able to sit there quietly and simply
Interesting.
listen to what it was that they were saying,
Wow. Wow.
provide a little bit of not so much feedback, but acknowledgement.
Hmm.
Well, of course you're feeling that way. Yes, I can imagine you were excited. Yes, I can only imagine how you were feeling.
Hmm.
I would just interject those simple comments. They would feel much better, but I would feel very calm inside because I didn't think that I needed to do, quid pro quo
All
because
right.
I'd already been listening to myself.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Wow.
the liberation that I felt
Wow.
was amazing. But
Hmm.
not only that, as I started really listening to myself, especially with the difficult stuff, I
Hmm.
was able to work through and realize that when I'm talking to someone else, and this holds true, be it in your family or in business,
Yes.
focus on behavior, not
Right.
on people.
Oh, okay.
And I now tell people no one can make you feel anything.
Hmm.
It's a choice. Because
Yes, of
how many
course.
times do we say, this happened and they made me happy, they made me sad, they made
Hmm.
me whatever? No,
Hmm.
it's a choice.
Of
When
course.
something happens, when someone does something, when someone says something,
Hmm.
you can choose to either feel happy, sad, mad, whatever it is you choose to feel, or you can
Yes.
simply let it fall on the floor with a thud and a splat and just
Hmm.
leave it there.
Right.
And the way I like to help people remember that is no one can make you anything, well, except reservations for dinner. And I prefer at a five-star restaurant and you pick up the tab.
Well, of course, I think everyone would love that, Lindsay. But I love how you said that. First off, listen to yourself, and I don't think we do that often. I don't think we
No,
stop and then listen to ourselves. But I love how you also highlighted that you said first listen to yourself, so you have time, you have the energy to listen to others as well. I feel like those are one of the real steps when it comes to self love. It's like understanding what it is that we truly need. I don't think we get to that part until we start really thinking about it. What is it that we need with self love? And what is it we need to love ourselves more, so to speak, to care for ourselves more? That way you could, you know, I feel like once you start doing that, that's why you were able to listen to others, because you started to care about yourselves more. You've had more room now to love others. I don't think you'll ever get that room to love others until you love yourself first. I love that. But speaking about five-star restaurants and picking up the bill, Lesley, your book is entitled You Can't Eat Love. I love this. This is one of the things that this is literally what caught my attention. I said, I wanted Lesley to be on the show. Lesley, talk to us about this. Talk to us, first of all. What is it that inspired you to write this book? What is the reason behind the title? And what is it that you want to what you want readers to take from it?
Well, what inspired me to write the book was, like so many people during the pandemic, I had time on my hands, and people
Mhm.
kept asking me different questions. And
Uh-huh.
so I sat down, did an outline, and wrote the book. And it was
Mhm.
very easy because it was my story.
Mhm.
But the first 3 or 4 paragraphs of the book, I actually wrote a couple of years prior to the pandemic.
Mhm.
And it happened the day after a Mother's Day. Mother's Day had been very, very difficult for me because my first Mother's Day as a mother was also my first Mother's Day without my mother, because my mother had died 2 weeks before my oldest child was born.
I'm so
So I
sorry.
never grieved her death. But
I'm
we
so
fast
sorry.
forward,
Mhm.
and my youngest sister had commented that to honor our mother on Mother's Day, she always made this chocolate meringue pie that we'd made for decades and decades, almost a
Wow.
century now.
Wow.
And so I decided to honor my mother on this particular Mother's Day and make this chocolate meringue pie. And the day after, I was
Mhm.
having some for breakfast. And for those people who don't think that pie qualifies as breakfast, yes, it does. It's eggs and it's milk and, all those good things. Breakfast.
Who says that? I mean, it's a breakfast for sure. All right, so now you have meringue pie. It's a
so,
constant.
so I,
Mhm.
I was sitting there and I was eating the pie.
Mhm.
And these thoughts started tumbling through my mind. So I grabbed a piece of paper and I grabbed a pen and I wrote down, that I was thinking about all these family members who had been
Mhm.
very important to me and they were now gone. They had passed away. And as I'm writing, I said, I realized that the love is in the memory, it's not in the food.
Oh,
You can't eat love.
oh, Leslie, that is so. You touch. It's so sad, but saddened, but lovely at the same time, because it's. I think food. I love food, by the way. Food. I subscribe to the fact that food brings people together. I don't think there's anything better that brings people together like food. What you taste, sight, the smell, everything, and those memories are supplemented by the food that we eat. Our favorite dish from our mother. My late mother, I love her spaghetti, and I miss her so much. She doesn't make it like no one makes it like she does, and I love that concept because Leslie, you can't eat love, but at the same time, it's like um these memories keep those memories keep our loved one alive. That's what make them um live on in our memories.
Well,
I love that.
that's what we believe helps
Hmm.
them to live on.
Huh.
And what I realized, what I understood was, even as I was eating the pie,
Mhm.
while I was enjoying the pie was only going to last a finite amount of time.
Wow.
But the memories were there, and I didn't need the pie to trigger the memory. I didn't need the pie to sit in the memory. I could just
Wow.
simply enjoy the memory. And you
Wow.
talking about your mother's spaghetti. do you really need the spaghetti in order to remember your mother or to remember those moments? No, you can remember your mother fixing the spaghetti. You can remember the smells. You can remember the sounds. You can remember all of that, but you do not have to have the spaghetti.
Right.
Now, where this really comes into play is so many times we don't want to feel.
Right.
Okay, we don't want to
Right.
feel, we don't want to experience whatever the emotion is. And so we turn to something that helps us relieve the tension of not wanting to feel.
Of course.
And
Of
that's
course.
that's where so many people will turn to food,
Mm,
because we start associating from being very young children. We are sad, they give us a lollipop. We are sad, they give
yes.
us a cookie. I can remember going to the doctor, and the doctor, giving me shots, and you get a sucker or something.
Hmm.
So we have associated food with feeling better as a consequence of pain, instead of acknowledging the pain
Hmm.
and sitting in the pain and being taught how we can sit in whatever that tension is.
Okay.
We
Okay.
are not given permission to experience the pain or the
Hmm.
joy,
Right.
because
Right.
whatever adults are around us are not comfortable with experiencing the tension or the joy.
That is true.
And this even
That is true.
applies in business with teams. If our team
Hmm.
leaders are not comfortable with experiencing the tension or the of whatever the emotion is,
Right.
they're going to deflect to their team members
Right.
to do whatever it is to relieve that tension. Either get back to work, whatever.
Yes. Yes.
But I turn to food. Some people turn to alcohol. Some people turn to drugs. Some people turn to work. Work is
Right.
a drug. Some people turn, to whatever excesses. And what
Hmm.
we're trying to do is we're either trying to bring back the memory,
Hmm.
or we're trying to relieve the tension of
Hmm.
not wanting to feel whatever the
Right.
heck it is that we are struggling to not feel.
I love that. Of course, memories are nice, but we always kind of want to always have good memories only, right? It's
It,
like
it,
we're taught
we
to.
we are told, yes, we are
Yes.
told to only have good memories.
Yes. Yes.
We are
Let's.
not given permission
Mhm.
to experience the sad memories. And
Mm.
what's wrong with experiencing a sad memory? Because I
Leslie,
could see your face and your body change when you were talking about your mother.
of course, because I mean, grieving is always difficult. It's not ever easy, but I feel like we need grief in order to feel love fully. Like you said, one of the most memorable quotes out there, uh, what is grief if it's not love, if not love persevering, right? But Leslie, you also mentioned this, that you weren't able to grieve your mother. And now you're talking about memories, painful memories, embracing that, where you don't need the meringue pie to remember her. How were you able to navigate this grief now that you look back, now that you've written this book, and now that you're shedding or sharing this message, spreading it to everyone else?
Well, I understand, first of all, it's a lie that time heals. That's the
Mm,
number one lie. Number two lie is it will get better as time goes by.
oh my.
And I bought into all of those lies. Also, they talk about cycles of grief, steps
Right,
of grief, and all that kind of
right,
stuff. Grief is like the ocean. And
right.
this is what I came to understand. Grief is like the ocean.
Mhm,
Sometimes, the ocean is calm. You living in the Philippines, you're very, very close to the ocean.
mhm,
I'm
mhm.
about 70 miles from the Gulf.
Right.
Some days, the ocean is very calm. There are little nice little waves, and when they come up on the shore, that make
Mhm.
that nice lapping sound. It's very peaceful. Other days,
Yes,
the waves get a little bit bigger, and then there are those days when there are absolute tsunamis.
yes,
And
yes.
that's what grief is. And once
Mhm,
I started having these conversations with myself
mhm,
and acknowledging what I was really feeling and stopping the fighting of the grieving, because
mhm.
I believe that I should not be feeling that way,
Right.
then I was able to fully grieve for my mother and say, of course I miss her. Of course, look at all these things that she's missing. Look at all these things that I'm missing.
Mm.
And I quit listening to other people who were trying to tell me, because they had never experienced that deep of a loss.
Right.
They're the ones who are trying to tell me, well, you should be over it, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At this point, she's been gone 40 years this month. And the grief is almost, some days it's as raw as it was the first
Right.
day. Other
Right.
days it's like, yes, I miss her.
Right. Right.
But when we give ourselves permission to fully
Permission.
feel what we fully feel, regardless of what the rest of the world is telling us, then that grief burden starts lightening up,
Mm.
because we're not fighting it. Think of that overstuffed suitcase where it
Right.
takes 2 or 3 people to sit on it to get the thing closed.
Yes. Yeah.
When we fight any emotion, it becomes like that overstuffed suitcase.
Yes. It's going to blow up anytime soon.
It's going to blow up at any time.
And I love that. And Leslie, this is very relatable, of course. And I mean, we all have grieved at one point in our lives. I love that you are preaching or saying that the message is, you have to feel these emotions in order to love fully. And I don't think we can able to love ourselves fully until we grieve properly. And grieving is not just about loss of life. It could be loss of connections, loss of relationships. Anything that, like even a physical object that means to you, it is grief. And the more that we reject that we are grieving, that we are human, we feel this, the more I think we hold ourselves back from actually loving ourselves fully. And Leslie, I keep going back to that because self love is one of your, like the center of your message. You embracing self love, cultivating healthy relationships to transform not just our eating habits, not just our life, our personal life, but also of course our business life, an overall quality of life. Leslie, as we begin to start wrapping this up, I want to give this opportunity to touch back a little bit on self-love. How are we to cultivate healthy relationships with ourselves, and how have you approached this after all these years, throughout all these years? How have you approached this personally, and how has it changed your life?
Well, the first thing that I started doing is I recognized I'm only in control of me. I'm not in control of anyone else.
Mhm,
And as
mhm,
long as I am acting with kindness and consideration,
mhm,
then my actions, my words should
mhm.
be coming out as kind and considerate. But the first thing that I needed to do was start changing how I spoke to myself and about myself.
I see.
Because how many times do we, for example, break a plate and we tell somebody, I was so stupid, I was so clumsy, I was so whatever. So I
Mm,
recognized the way I talked to myself and about myself, I was giving other people permission to
mhm,
speak to me and about me in that way. So, number
mhm.
one, I started shifting how I spoke to and about myself. And that's
I see.
reframing. And that's a word, that's out there all the time, reframing.
Right, right.
I still do it. I will catch myself starting a negative comment or conversation with
Mhm,
myself, and I'll be like, wait, hold on, hold on.
mhm.
Reframe that.
I see.
The other thing is something I already talked about. We focus on behavior,
Right.
not the person.
Mhm,
This is what happened. It's not that I am.
mhm.
I am a female. I am a human being. That's about all that
Yes,
I am.
yes,
I
yes,
am not
yes.
stupid. I am not clumsy. I'm not, remove all those adjectives, focus on behavior. And the more that I did that, the more I could feel myself accepting myself for just as I am. But the other thing is when I am focusing on who I am in control of, which is me, and
Mhm.
understanding everybody else is in control of them,
I see.
people started noticing that something was going on. And my
I
husband
see.
even said, I don't know what's going on and I don't know if I like it.
Hmm.
Because when we start loving ourselves and we start prioritizing ourselves, it's not
Right.
that we are deprioritizing anyone else. It's simply
Hmm.
that our interactions with them change.
I see.
And they have two choices. Either they can change
Hmm.
or they're going to end up moving far away from us.
I see.
And we need to be ready to accept that.
Wow.
Because when we take responsibility for ourselves, when we prioritize ourselves, when we understand I need to change how I speak to and about myself, and I'm not going to accept anyone else speaking to or about me in any other way,
I see. I
we're
see.
being clear with that boundary.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
that is what allows us to really start loving ourselves. And when we allow ourselves to love ourselves, we allow ourselves to freely feel whatever the heck it is we are feeling,
Hmm.
regardless of what anybody else thinks about whether we
Of
should
course.
or should not be feeling that.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
And that's where real change starts happening.
I love that.
Understand who you are in control of and who you are not in control of. And
Hmm.
unfortunately or fortunately, we deal with other people, right? So they're
Yes.
each revolving in their own universe.
Yes.
But as we start demonstrating
Hmm.
that we are in control of us, that we're focusing on behavior and not people,
Hmm.
that's going to influence the people around us.
I see. I see.
That's going to demonstrate to other people, I can do this too. And we don't even need to say anything.
I see.
But how
I love that.
liberating is that? How liberating is that?
I mean, it's the way you just talk about it definitely already feels liberating. I mean, I feel like being kind to yourself is an incredibly related, really, liberating feeling. And it's difficult. It's not easy. Being kind to yourself. We're not really taught to be kind to ourselves growing up. It's something that we pick up a little later on in our lives. But I'm glad that I think the more that we talk about this, the more we teach people early on, like, hey, just be kind to yourself. Talk to yourself with kindness, with kind words, and then you'll start to, you won't take anything else. Like you won't take otherwise from others, so to speak, right? Because now you know what you limit, you know what you tolerate from others. But that way, if you talk to yourself kindly, I think you can be kind to others much more effectively as well. Lesley, of
100%. 100%.
100%. Right, definitely. Lesley, of course, the website is youcan'teatlove.com. I invite our audience and listeners to go to that website, go check out a little bit more of Lesley. You, of course, grab a copy of her book, You Can't Eat Love. It is everywhere. Where can we find the books? By the way, Lesley, is it up on Amazon? Is it everywhere? And where else can we
Yes.
find you?
The book is everywhere.
Mhm.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all of those websites, and you can find out more about me. Well, most about me on the website. YouCan'tEatLove.com. That actually is the easiest way to connect to me because it has all my social media connections and
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm. Well, I mean, I love it. I love the concept. I love the message that you talk about, and I love that we had the opportunity to share that today here at the show and with our audience and listeners. And of course, I invite again our audience and listeners to grab a copy of that book. Lesley, one last wisdom to leave behind our audience to take us home. What would it be?
That you are enough
Yes,
exactly as you are. You
yes,
don't
yes,
need to change anything.
yes, you are.
Tomorrow, you'll be someplace else.
Yes, you are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are enough. Lesley, thank you for the lovely message. Thank you for those lovely, lovely reminders to love ourselves and that we are enough. To all our audience and listeners out there, thank you for watching the episode. I hope you loved Lesley as much as I did. I'm certainly captivated, not just by her message, but by her as well. Spread the love out there. Be kind to yourself. Love yourself more. And Lesley, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Joshua.
And to all our audience listeners out there, thank you for watching the episode once again. We will see you on the next one. Bye bye.
All right, so here's the thing, we try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.